Okay, well, I just want to say hi to everybody. So I'm getting used to seeing everybody and some of you the regulars. I do just want to mention for those of you that contacted me about the development group I was going to put together for you, we need a significant amount of numbers. So unless there's 6 to 8 in a circle consistently, unfortunately, it's not really viable to have a thorough, proper development group because you need that amount of people to be able to work with. So until we can get those numbers, guys, we can't really go forward with a group. If any of you want to join any of other groups or you want to join a circle, a weekly circle online, just let me know. Otherwise, I can put you in there until we can get established other numbers. We just didn't have enough people. So I know some of you were still interested, but if you're interested in joining anything else, also once a month I do a universal global practice forum. So that will start again in February, March. If anybody's interested in that, you can let me know. But other than that, Happy New Year. It's the same in January as what it was in December. We're just going to be more optimistic this year, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes. Psychic hasn't changed. The spirit hasn't changed. We're the ones who are having the changes, but our work with the spirit world never does. So it's lovely to be here, Wendy. Thank you for asking me. And thanks, guys, for getting online.
Aiming to go medium, and it turns out going psychic.
Okay. The only reason for that is you're not holding your power. No other terms. There's nothing wrong with psychic work. Let me tell you this. Psychic is not a dirty word. And sometimes people say, oh, you're not working with spirit. Well, that's just psychic. Psychic work is very important, but that's a whole forum of understanding soul communication. To be a really good psychic, you need to be really totally blending with the soul in front of you, not just reading desires, wishes, their thoughts and everything around them in the normal energy field we hold. You want to really blend with the person's soul to understand what makes them tick in order to give true intuitive guidance. Otherwise, all you're doing is giving them verbal communication of what's around their life now, which is all very apparent and it may confirm what you're doing, but there's no guidance in it. When you're working with your mediumship, if you're intending to work mediumistically, but you find you've gone psychically, it's just the fact that your power's not strong enough or built up enough. And how long have you been working and sitting in the power, Kylie?
Well, basically since March 2020.
Oh my goodness. You need to take that whip out of your hand and be kind to yourself because your expectations might be a little bit high for you. Don't worry about that. That is so new. It takes a long time to develop and work with the power correctly. So don't beat yourself up about that. It is better, guys, to be a good psychic than a ropey medium. Isn't it? Right? So I would say to you, what you need to do there, Kylie, is you obviously need to sit within the power a little bit more to build that power around you. Now, when we're building the power, it is the battery that fuels the mediumistic connection. So we build it simply to build, not to gain information, not to get a link, nothing like that. Because then when you go to work mediumistically, you can draw on that power that you build around yourself. So if you're not building that correctly or strong enough, your psychic and mediumship work will mix and the mind will fluctuate. So don't stress too much. Just say, okay, I endeavor to do it. And all it is sitting and practice, sitting and practice. But don't beat yourself up. That is very early days.
I've been asking to try to develop my psychic side because I just started medium. So I have been putting it out there as an intention to start to open up psychically as well.
Okay, sweetheart. Well, you need more than just an intention. You need a teacher, and you need activity, and you need stimulation of the psychic senses. So you need someone who can track the mind with you, who can explain an exercise, give an exercise, work you through it, and let you know where your mind is flowing. So therefore, I have a rule in my groups where I work, I destruct to reconstruct. So I may destruct a message or psychic information or a mediumistic link in pieces so my students can understand where the mind was in the flow. And by analyzing that and understanding about how we perceive different things, we get to understand where our power dips and how we work it. But you know, intention is extremely important. You need to be very positive, have a good intention, have a good positive mental application, but you do need to do more than just setting an intention. So if you want to practice psychic, practice with family and friends on small things, practice with psychometry, with photographs, with images, with objects, to sharpen the psychic senses. And that stimulates the wheel. In the way that I've been trained, and remember, I didn't have formal training for a long, long time. I only went into a little bit of formal training when I was already operating as a medium to understand a bit more. So I'm a great believer in the naturalness of the spirit world. I don't believe in techniques or formulas, but I do believe, I really believe through experience, that you should learn about the psychic ability before you start to talk to the spirit world. Because you have to talk to spirit here before you talk to the spirit there. Right? And so then you get to understand the needs of your recipient, as well as the needs of the spirit when you operate on a mediumistic level. So you just need, and it would be good if you were in, this is good for everybody, if you find that your power is wavering, have a look at the people that you're sitting with. You need to be in a good balanced group, because the group, the power of the group will bring the group up. So you might have someone who's, for example, I have a lovely young lady who's joined my group only a year ago. My home circle, which I never let anybody in the home circle, but I allowed her in. I had a feeling intuitively to do it, and she had not done anything before, just a few spasmodic workshops with me. And the power of my group a year later has helped raise her power, and she's now giving wonderful contacts. So it's because it's the discipline of the mind of the group. The power of the group helps you, it forces you. So have a look where you're sitting, Kylie, and if you're on your own, practice with exercises first, and then sit in the silence for the spirit world. And as you practice, go, okay, I've sat, I'm going to see if my intention, if I can sense the other world as I'm working after my psychic reading, and see how you go from that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I typed it in the chat room, but this week I forced myself to ask for people to request readings. I said I'd do 3 this week and 3 next for free. I did 2 of these and I had very good feedback, and over the weekend I had done one and I had good feedback also. It makes me feel good, but when they don't connect with the message from spirit, it makes me feel sad, and I back away from reading. Any advice?
Well, first of all, I don't want you to use the word force. You shouldn't have to force yourself to do anything, okay? Because if you feel you're forcing yourself, you're not applying yourself heart and soul. So if you have a day, if I have a day where I don't work with the spirit, I don't. I said, I don't want to talk to people today. I don't want to do spirit work. I don't want to think about the psychic. I want to be Christine. I might want to cook, clean, go shopping, or just be me, because we have to bring that emotional, mental, and spiritual balance into our physical. So be mindful of that. And if they don't connect with the message from spirit, do you mean evidentially or something that you're telling them after the evidence?
Evidentially. I do my readings online. I don't really have face-to-face with people. And I belong to a group on Facebook called Empaths Reading Room. And mostly it's a psychic group, which Kylie might like. But I ask them, because I have to find people that want readings.
I see.
So that's what I forced myself to do, not to give the reading. So I wrote, this, I do not do psychic readings. I am a medium and I'm on vacation. I would like to do, I'm actually camping. I'm in a tent right now. It's an orange tent. And so I wanted to do 3 this week because I felt good. I felt connected. I connect to Mother Earth very deeply. And so I felt that way camping and everything. But I mean, I listen to spirit and I write down what I hear exactly. And then I type it up. I'm like a secretary, and I type it up and I send it to them. And like 3 in a row, it was great. but then I'll have a spirit that will seem like they're pouring their hearts out to me, and they just give me wonderful information. And then the person that I'm giving it to goes, no, that's not for me.
Okay.
And I don't know what to do. I feel
okay.
bad for
Okay.
spirit because they work so hard to give me this information.
Okay, well, I want to say to you first, don't feel bad for the spirit world, because the spirit world are non-judgmental, and they know it's all part of the frailties of mind where we can mix things up, misinterpret, etc. What is actually taking place, if you have somebody who cannot understand your evidence, the only answer to that, Daisy, my darling, is you may be incorrect. So you may be with the wrong recipient. So you then have to work that out. You have to just accept that and say, okay. And then perhaps if you're doing it in a group forum, perhaps the information is for someone else. If you're not in a group forum, you just have to look at the information afterwards and just say, okay, my mind was off track. Where did it come from? Because unless there's some form of evidence with it, it's not going to make sense. It's definitely from the spirit world, because some of that could be some of you. So it sounds like you're on track, but you might have either got the wrong recipients, or you might have just had a one-off where it just didn't fit. The information is not correct. And we're not infallible. It doesn't matter how many years experience you've had doing this and how old you are in the game. We are not infallible. We all make mistakes. So don't you worry about that. I would just say, don't beat yourself up. Have a look at the information, put it to one side, but be very kind and gentle to yourself, but in your authenticity of saying, okay, I'm open to being correct. My mind may have wandered, or perhaps that's the wrong recipient. It's a no-go. So I'll accept that and I'll put that to one side, but I won't let it stop me on my journey of trying again, because sometimes that can happen. And you see, information from the spirit world must have two parts. It must be evidential, factual, and it must be emotional. So we need to have both factors working correctly. And so if the evidence is no good, the message is no good, because it could be from anybody. So don't beat yourself up, my love. Just go through it and think, okay, well, those two worked, that one didn't. Put it down to experience, go back to disciplining in the power, sitting, practicing, and work it out from there. And it's not because,
thank you.
Yeah.
Could I ask, and I do usually eventually find the person that the reading was for.
Well,
even if it wasn't for that, I will post it, you know, or somebody will just walk in the room and say, I heard you talk to my son, you have a reading for me. I don't know why, but they do. My other question to you is, when I'm listening to spirit in the very beginning, they usually say male or female, or I ask and they say it, and then they usually give me mother, father, aunt, grandfather, whatever. And then there's a lull. And I usually ask, how are you? And then they tell me, you know, and it's very different. Each one is entirely different. And then if there's a lull again, I'll say, what is it like where you are? And then they'll tell me that. And then usually after, I don't have to urge them. It just flows after that.
Okay.
Is this something normal?
Well, normally, once you're, to be truthful, when you're blending with the power, normally you should be going straight into the flow. All that's happening with you is you sending out thoughts to them, asking them how they are. You're building a rapport. So what you're doing is you're building the power as you go, because the spirit's not on demand. The spirit's not in control. And sometimes you can be doing a session and you can wait 5 or 10 minutes before the communicator comes to you. So even though you're talking to the spirit world and you're getting answers back, sometimes that's just our own higher self, our own spirit, our mind answering us back. Often it can take a little bit of time to build that up. Sometimes it can take you a while to get going, but I would say to you, to master your mediumship, you need to endeavor to be in the flow immediately. I'm going to work for the spirit world. I know when I'm working with you today, I have a lady standing beside you. This lady is your mother. I know she addresses herself as the name of Anne. and then you move on from that. So you already start a flow. And as you're flowing, there's a crescendo. Your reading builds in power, and then it flows down. So where you're getting the lulls, just make sure they don't go on too long, and endeavor to work through them. Not too many questions asking the spirit. Try to be with them where you don't need to ask questions, that you're so in tune with them so naturally. They talk to you like it's just your neighbor, just like I'm talking to you now. So I would say to you, just be aware of it, but don't let the lulls go on too much or too many questions. It's okay though, Daisy, it isn't an issue. It's not an issue. You'll work through that as you get better with experience.
Thank you. Once they start talking, I write usually 5 or 6 single-sided pages, and there hasn't been one that was the same as the other one. I can tell you that. And they say, I write whatever I hear. I don't even try to interpret it. I mean, there are things that didn't make any sense to me that ended up bringing tears to the person that heard it.
That's okay. That's okay. That's fine.
Thanks, Daisy.
Thank you very much.
I'm brand new at this, and I don't understand. It appears, and this is just my fledgling interpretation, that the messages are subtle, and I'm not sure what that feels like. I've had a lot of experiences that were paranormal, and they were the kind that bowl you over. And I don't think, it doesn't appear to me that mediumship is these experiences that knock you down, that they're more subtle. Or is that, am I wrong?
Okay, well, first of all, everybody's experience is individual to them. It's very unique. Okay. But I will say to you that what you need to do is to be sitting and learning about the power, and sitting in that, or sitting in that place of stillness for as long as you can, and not to worry where the images come from, the left, right, or the center of your mind. Forget all the third eye things. Mm-hmm. We know all that's in activation. All those areas within us are in activation as we work in the psychic fields, because mediumship is an aspect of this. It's part of the psychic faculty which runs through the human mind. It's a level of consciousness. So as we are activating, all these things are working within us, but the more we put our brain into them, the more we're moving back from the spirit. So what I would say to you is just go to a place of stillness within yourself till you sit alone with your own spirit. And in that quietness and that peace of mind, allow yourself to be aware of the stillness within and around you. Okay. And from that stillness within and around you, there will grow a stronger energy field. That is when the power starts to build. But a lot of people at the beginning mistake their own energy for spirit power, and it's not. So you need to let that build gradually, but it's about growing to a place of stillness. Do not worry about the images or the information, because if you're not in a place where you're practicing readings to give to people with images and information, what is the point? It's partly part of your subconscious mind, part of the brain being active, and perhaps a touch of psychic awareness and mediumistic expression. So don't worry about it. The most important thing is you learn to be still. Sometimes I can be closer to the spirit world when I'm walking in nature or by the ocean. I don't have to say that. I can just go for a walk and I can talk to the spirit. I have a beautiful place where I live, and I go and sit at the ocean sometimes, and I will talk when I need help or I want to discuss or inspiration. And I guarantee when I'm walking home or later that day or sometimes at night, I will get something. Not in my time, in their time. So if I'm in that place of stillness within, my thoughts will still be heard. So I would say to you, just sit in that practice of stillness. But when you're first starting, Sherry, it's a very unique expression. So your feeling is individual. It's different for everybody, but it's basically you're looking to expand your energy field. But firstly, we always need to build awareness of self and our own spirit. So don't worry where it's coming in from. Don't worry about all that. Okay. Just sit in that stillness. Once you start to feel that stillness, you'll get a feeling with it. And oh, I feel that lovely peace. I feel that. And then as that builds over a period of time, then maybe journal experiences. You'll know when you have that feeling.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, sorry, it takes me a while to unmute. Okay, so all right, when I first discovered mediumship, it was purely by accident. I was sitting in a workshop out of interest, and I had my first vivid experience. And then within that first 6 months period, I had these amazing experiences. And then I had just some things happened that I just totally got anxious, and then it's like, okay, where did that go? Like I didn't have to do anything. Spirit actually did the work. So now I've been studying since June 2017. It was that first experience. And I've had a home group until COVID, and I've taken workshops, and I'm just really terrified of actually practicing on people I don't know. So I'm going to jump in and do that because Susan Wilson last week said, do 100 readings and critique yourself. So I I told one of my homegirls, I'm going to do this. So she sent me somebody, and I have a reading on Friday. And I'm terrified that my own nervousness is going to make it so I don't connect. So I just need advice from you about how to just jump in and do it.
Right. Okay. Right. I just want, first of all, on Friday, before Friday, just you've already set the intention. Do you know, dear Spirit, I'm going to work for you, dear friends. We're going to join worlds today, and I'm going to do the best I can do as Laurie, the best I can be. So I'm going to breathe. So what you're going to do, you're going to get up Friday, go through your routine. You're just going to keep yourself paced and breathe and calm and relaxed. Have a glass of water. So the best thing to do is put your client at ease, have a chat with them. Hi, Laurie, how are you today? It's lovely to see you. Isn't the weather lovely? How are you coping through COVID? How's your family doing? Build up a lovely feeling of ease and a relaxed sense, because what we do is sacred. And when we are blending ourselves with someone else's soul psychically, or where we're blending with their loved ones in the spirit world, we are creating a beautiful vibration of sacredness. And so it needs to be treated that way. But that will be very fractious if we are over anxious, too nervous, agitated, or we're rushing. So just breathe, have a little chat, put them at a relaxed state so you feel relaxed. How may I help you? This is what I do. I work intuitively, and I will endeavor to work for the spirit world. I have no control who's coming from the spirit world. I can't demand. I can't throw questions at them. I can't control them, but I'm open to their experience if you'd like me to share that with you today. And then take a glass of water, have a glass of water. Every time you get anxious, breathe, pause, drink, recollect yourself. And the biggest thing to work with when you're doing private readings and you get like that is slow. Go slow. And if you're a bit nervous, don't worry about getting it right. Mm-hmm. Just take the egoism attitude that we all have. It's part of us. It's part of being human, about getting it right. Throw it out the window and look at your reading as an experience. And then when you get things right, you can celebrate. And if you get it wrong, you can celebrate that you know the difference. And you can say, that's okay, I stuffed it up, but I'll get back on the horse and I'll try again, right? So it is about this mental application we have within our work. And, you know, reading should leave people inspired, uplifted, and motivated. But we also have to feel that ourselves. So just put them at a relaxed pace. Make sure you let them know you are sharing an experience and you are not in demand of the spirit, nor are you 100% accuracy with prediction if you're doing psychic work. And a true psychic doesn't always give prediction anyway. You can't tell people 100% about their future. That is a fallacy. So you need to understand what's coming within your mind and how you can interpret it, how you can work with that. But the biggest key is breathe. Take a drink of water, relax the client, relax yourself, and have an experience.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Laurie. Good luck. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Enjoy it.
Into like reading number 30, I think I'll feel better.
I think 100 is a lot. I think you should just do 10. You do your
Okay.
choice. That's up to you. You do what you do. Okay. Right. Next, please.
Thank you.
I was wondering if some people, let's say a medium who has passed, versus someone's son who passed 29, not really into spirituality. That medium, let's see. Well, this was my experience. The medium came in very strong, very clear, just talked blah, 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 blah. I picked her up very easily, lots of evidence. And then the young man who had passed, I have my own way of, I guess, in my mind, how I see someone who has recently passed. I could see him looking to his guides or spirit, whoever was there with him, for kind of like he was saying, like, okay, how do I do this, or how do I get this across to her? Are there spirits that have more experience, or is going to know what they're doing more than others to be able to come in stronger?
Absolutely. Same as we have more experienced people here. So if you are someone who is open to afterlife communication, then you're going to be more open to communicating. And often if you're a regular communicator, you'll be more used to how you impress the medium's mind. But when you move to the spirit world, you obviously have to learn how to do that, right? So
okay, that's
obviously, and because it's like when we talk about the guides and all those people that help us, every mind in the spirit world is at a different level of evolution. So anybody's opinion or information from the spirit world is according to their level of evolution at that time.
Okay.
Because the progress of the human soul is an ongoing progression. So it makes sense as we progress in our development, as we progress with our soul here, so does the spirit world. You know, so you may have someone, for example, who's been coming as a regular communicator for a long time, and they can talk, give images, and know how they work. And then now I've got young people that come through and they show me a text on a phone.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah.
So, you know, not on my phone, but they'll give me the clairvoyant image, and the message will be in the text. So it's different, the way different minds will work according to how they are when they go over, and how they want to progress and open up their evolution in the world of the spirit. So it could be that the medium in the spirit world was very easily to impress you, to work with you, no problem, understood the process. But when the young guy, he might just been a little bit hesitant. He might have just been a little bit hesitant in doing this. And I certainly over the years have had people saying, I didn't believe in this. I would never have come to someone like you. I had someone just come yesterday in a private session, and they just said to me point blank, I would never have listened to you when I was alive. And then my thoughts to them were, well, you're still alive now, and you're talking. And we built up this beautiful rapport, and I did the session for the lady who was in need. So there is an adjustment in the world of the spirit, but the best people to help them with that are the spirit people.
Okay, and that's what I had seen with this.
That's right,
young
Judy.
man.
That's right.
And I had classes I had taken before, where the teachers would say everyone should come. You should be able to pick them up the same strength. They should come in, and it didn't make sense to me, but I wasn't about to tell the teacher she was wrong. But I just that's the way it feels sometimes.
Well, sometimes
that some people have more experience getting those things through, and
yes, but also the other side to that is that it also depends on the experience of the medium. That's why not one medium is everybody's medium. There's a medium for everybody. So someone in your family might come through very strong with Wendy and might come very weak with me, because it's according to our ability and how we are as a medium as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Next question.
What's the best method to meet and contact your spirit guides? And the second question I had was, what if you communicate with a spirit? And I've had some experiences when they say to me, well, help me do it.
Where the spirits say that?
Yeah. Help me do it.
All right, Sherry, darling. Okay. First of all, with the spirit guides, forget it. Don't even try to do anything. Put your thoughts out there. Look, I'm a nuts and bolts teacher. Wendy will tell you that, straight to the point. Don't try to meet the guides. Put the intention out there, obviously, but let the guides show themselves when they're ready to you in the way they need to. Otherwise, you can create aspects of the subconscious mind and the emotional mental state of yourself and create something that's not a reality through an illusion. So put the thought out, whoever's helping me in the spirit world, how lovely. I'm very grateful for your presence. And perhaps one day when I'm ready, you will show yourself in some way. But there's not a technique or method. When we teach about the spirit guides, it's about opening up the mind to be open and available to whatever they want to impress us with. And then it is really about a journaling experience over many years. I can count the times on one hand where a particular person I've seen for many years, over 30 years, has come to me. And I saw him in a dream state last week, and it's the first time I've seen him for about 5 years. So he's probably there in the background, but there was a situation where I really put focus into him to set my intention about something, and I had an experience 2 or 3 days later where he let me know that he was still there. But he showed himself 5 times. So really, I have to say to you, with the guides, if you put too much focus into that, the mind and subconscious self can self-create. What you need to know is that the spirit know who and when needs to work with you at the what time, and trust that. And when the time is ready, usually in a spontaneous situation, you will find out maybe who they are if you are meant to. But I don't know all my team. I don't know all of them, even after 30 years.
Okay.
I have certain names, certain feelings, almost like they give me a call. It's their calling card, I call it. It's like I know who it is that's there, but they're certainly not at my demand.
Okay.
And secondly, the spirit world would never ask you to help them do it. So that must be an aspect of mind, my darling.
Well, that came through in EVP.
Okay, well, that's a bit different to mental mediumship. So if you're talking about EVP, which is a reality, is, you're talking about a totally different mechanical process. So perhaps there was a needing of more power, more energy needed for the EVP to bring up the experience for people who was there. That's a totally different concept to mental mediumship, but it's still an act of working with the spirit world of mediumship.
Okay, thank you.
Margaret said, wonder what Christine says to a sitter if they say it doesn't fit, and how she deals with her feelings from those cases.
Okay, if it doesn't fit, I'll say, okay. If I have evidence and then I give a piece of information that is not correct, I will just say, okay, that's fine. I will accept that I get a no. And the spirit world will feel that the fact that I've got a no in my vibration. And if it's correct, they normally find another way to bring it back to me somewhere in the reading. Otherwise, apart from that, I've got to accept that I'm incorrect. If I have a private sitting that goes terribly wrong and it's not fitting right and someone's unhappy, I don't continue it. I normally get a feeling after about 10, 15 minutes, and I would close the reading down. I would refund someone, or I certainly wouldn't charge them, and just admit that I've got to have had a bad day and I was off track. And normally I will tell you it's always you, not the recipient or the spirit world. But luckily, touch wood, that doesn't happen very often, but it has happened in 30 years where I have had to make a refund, where I could not work properly with the person in front of me and it wasn't going anywhere. So I just very politely told the truth. And so if something like that happens, you then have to go away and say what was wrong. At the time, for me, I was too emotional to work. I shouldn't have worked anyway, but I endeavored to do it and it was no good. My mind couldn't focus properly. So what I will say to you is that you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be really raw in your honesty. Whether you like it or not, you have to look at your elements of egoism, your elements of your subconscious, your perception, and your expectation. That's talking about really working with soul work with yourself. If you really want to be that guiding soul for the world of the spirit and to help humanity here, we then have to take it on board ourselves, and that's not an easy thing. That is not an easy, being a spiritual person and being soulful is not about being love and light. It's not about giving blessings and speaking beautiful words. It's about really being dirty and getting your hands dirty into the grit of life where things go wrong and looking at the shadow part of ourselves. and recognizing that the souls in the spirit world also had shadow parts of themselves, that they're not all beautiful, wonderful angels who've gone to the other world just because they've passed. They're in a process of evolution, the same as you are still in a process of soul evolution at Earth. So I believe that you have to be very honest. And, you know, Wendy will tell you this about me. I'm very honest, sometimes to the point where I have to remember to be quiet. But I feel that it's the best way to be, and it's the only way I know how to be me. So guess what? After all these years, I'm okay with all that, because now I know I'm not intentionally hurting anybody. I'm not intentionally going out to create pain, but I'm going to be honest with myself and look at things that I could be doing wrong, or I could be making a wrong assumption, or I might not be understanding something. And one of the things I have learned, which has really helped me in my mediumship, guys, is that listen to understand. Do not listen to reply. And I think that's very, very important. And I think when we really get into that lovely soul space, I was talking to Kylie or Daisy and the Power and Sherry, really get into that silent soul space and you recognize those things about yourself, the spirit world know that you are having that recognition, that you are on part of a learning curve, a learning journey, and they know that and they recognize that. That is what spiritual development is. Because you can say a platitude of beautiful words, you've just got to switch on Instagram these days. You know, but this is about this life, isn't it? And it's about doing the best we can with what we have in the most possible way. And if that means being really truthful with yourself and with others, you do it in a kind, compassionate way, both to other people and to yourself, but you do something about it. Does that make sense?
Hi, Christine. My question is that, you know, as you're connecting with spirit and passing on messages, how can you be certain that it's actually spirit that you're talking to? And I ask it because within my house, I had a lot of paranormal activity, which included, like when I was doing a online session, the spirit would break into the session through my iPad like a spirit box, you know, and the whole group could hear the messages from my phone would send and change, things in my house moved, lots of activity. And then, but the more I practiced, obviously, the more was happening within my house. Mm-hmm. And then when I was trying to connect, now I would get some images. So, for example, one of them was a lady with tape over her mouth. And I don't know, like, as we talk through it, I kind of went, what they're saying is someone's stopping you from talking, you need to find your voice. Mm-hmm. But how can I be sure then that those messages are coming from spirit and not from something else? Because, and I asked you because these spirits were also invading my son's dreams. And, okay. You know, and to confirm, since we've been cleansed, he hasn't had any more. But anyway, I hope that makes sense.
Right, okay. First of all, remember the spirit world would never hurt or harm anybody. Never, ever hurt or harm anybody. Mm-hmm. So what I will say to you, if you are engaging in paranormal activity, if you're doing a lot of psychic reading, if you're delving into the psychic sciences, if you're working with physical and all that sort of stuff, and Karen would know this, if you're delving in onto them, you start to create vibrations around you of psychic activity. And what it can actually be is a build-up of your own psychic energy, which can create things to move and which can create problems with electronics, etc. So all of those things come into play. So first of all, I would really need to examine the information that came through on the iPad or the text or in the group session, what the message was, because a lot of it can actually stem from built up psychic energy, built up emotional energy, which can congregate to actually create distortion. So if the spirit were invading your son's dreams, I wouldn't think the spirit world would invade. What might be happening, if it's the spirit world, he may be receiving an impression or having a psychic dream experience. But when you have those, I need to let you know they're spontaneous. If something is happening very regular and every night, then there's definitely a problem with the mind energy, which can be, we can create things within the brain and the mind which create a reoccurring situation, like a hamster in a wheel, which as soon as the brain goes into a sleep state, then the mind knows it can flare up and replay that. And that can happen with physical mediumship and things we can recreate. And when we're working with these psychic vibrations around us, we have to be very, very diligent that we understand. The only way you'd really understand, Anne, is that you sense the presence of the spirit rather than it just being information. If the presence of the spirit is not there, and you may need another medium to verify this with you, then the information can just be information that's coming in from psychic vibrations or psychic things around you, and it can be mixed up with subconscious thoughts. For example, we know that, you know, thoughts create a strong vibration, and we have had situations where I've myself have been called to people's homes where people have had phenomena going on, only to find that the phenomena has been created by emotional energy, not the spirit world. So there's many different factors within those elements, but it is quite common to get little experiences when you first start dabbling with the psychic and the mediumistic, but it's usually never of a negative nature, never. So have you got a medium who can sit with you or link with you and maybe come to your home? Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, where are you at?
But it's just because for me, it's just that one extension of going, you know, like we go, how do I know it's not my mind creating, it's spirit, not myself? And I go, well, how do I know that it's actually spirit creating and not something else?
Well, first you'd have to find out, then you'd need a medium to sit with you to find out, to talk to the spirit world, to find out who it is. And if it is the spirit, if there's someone there, say it's a family member or someone like that, you get some sort of evidence. If there's the presence of the spirit, and the other medium should be able to pick that up, because your emotional mind and your own mind already knows the phenomena, right? So if you think about this in levels of consciousness, your thoughts and your mind already know that phenomena. So your mind can automatically replay that phenomena remembrance, and your body will physiologically react to it. So what you need is an objective, independent consciousness, like another medium who's strong and solid, to come and have a look at what's going on. It does not feel when I'm talking to you, I have the feeling immediately that it isn't anything of a nature that's untoward of the spirit world at all. It sounds like it's emotional energy to me.
Yeah, I actually ended up having the house cleared because I mean, one of the things, just to, because, you know, you do go, is it me, is it? But we had an item go missing from here. It was definitely from here. And my husband went to France and he opened a bag in France and he found it in a bag in France. And so we go, okay. And we have lots of stuff go missing that turns up later somewhere else. You know, that happened a lot. But I'll go, in France, I can't explain how that happened. So there was so in the end, I ended up having the place cleared because there was lots. And so I just shut everything down at the time and went, because I don't know what's happening, I would just shut everything down. And now, of course, because it's cleared, I feel like, no, it's time to start back up. But it's about doing it in a way of going, okay, how can I be sure that, and from, you know, different education classes going, how can I be sure that I am actually connecting with what I think I'm connecting with?
Right, so you need to sit in that power and feel the presence, and when you're connecting with the spirit world, you need to get evidence of who you're connecting with and who it is. But, you know, that's weird and wonderful. I was involved with physical for many, many years. So, you know, I've had things turn up in unusual places and across the world traveling in a suitcase with me. So I understand all of that phenomena, but I need to know what exactly the details, what's going on with you, because I just feel there's also a level of emotional stress there somewhere around the home, if I may be forward in saying that, where there's been something that's going on, and that can build up that sort of energy. That can build up that, but the spirit world, and also if you're dabbling in things like physical mediumship or anything like that, you're creating energy all the time.
Energy.
Right?
Yeah,
where are you based, Anne? Where are you based?
In a country town. I don't know if you know Bacchus Marsh in Victoria, Australia.
Right, yeah, because
but we're on like a bush location.
Right, so you could just get someone to come in and sense the atmosphere and see if there's anybody there that wants to communicate, or see what the phenomena is that's taking place, to see the difference if it's emotional, psychic energy, or if there's actually somebody there. It feels to me like there's a lot of psychic energy around the house that's built up. I do not feel it's anything to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. It was,
just sit with the power,
you know,
set the correct intention, sit with the power and say to the spirit world, I'm endeavoring on my mediumship. I just want this for the good of myself, my family, and all in the spirit world to do the best I can. And when you say clearing the house, have the windows open, play music, beautiful flowers, burn lovely oils, have a very uplifting atmosphere, and that is the best house cleanse you'll ever get, because it's all about the mind.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Right,
nothing
thank you
to
so
worry
much.
about. You're welcome.
No,
You're welcome.
I'm not worried. Just curious. Okay, thank you.
Okay, just have a good read about energy and how energy can create things as well.
Can I ask on the back of that?
Yes,
Can
Kylie.
I just add to that? So if a medium comes through and brings evidence of passed over people that she will have known in the past, that could be them. In other words, that's what you're after, is the evidential mediumship to confirm the presence of these past people that she will have known in the house.
I'm a bit confused with that. Do you mean
You
if...
said to bring a medium in.
Oh, no, well, a medium will just sit, not necessarily to connect with the past people of the house, but to sense the presence, to see if it's actually spiritual phenomena or if it's psychic phenomena. Psychic and kinetic energy, psychic phenomena is not of the spirit.
So it's not necessarily somebody that's connected to Anne, you're saying?
No, not necessarily, no.
Okay.
But it could be things that's going on around the property might have a lot of energy. There might be a lot of energetic residue to do with emotional stress or anything like that. And so it's like almost, I'm not sure what that is. We'll come back to that, Philip. So you have all that energy all building up. So all of that energy can create atmosphere, and things can happen within that atmosphere that are not controlled by an independent spirit mind. So it's about a medium who can go in there and sense the presence, not necessarily loved ones of Anne. It could be someone of Anne, but we'd have to go in there and find out first.
Okay, so the information that we're looking for is not validated. We can't validate it. It's, yeah.
You can't. You can't until you're there in the presence. Wendy, I think Philip had a comment on that.
Philip does a lot of work with psychokinetic energy. Philip, would you like to make some input on that?
Well, I'm a paranormal investigator, and what Anne was really sounding like she was describing is poltergeist activity, which is recurrent, spontaneous psychokinetic energy, you know, emotional psychic energy, like Christine said. And it can make objects disappear and reappear in other places. So that would not necessarily have to be spirit in your house doing it. Can I ask how old is it your son? How old is he?
My son is 15, and I do have a 17-year-old daughter who, like he has the dreams, and he himself calls them night terrors, which have stopped since we've had the house clear. But it's my daughter who is most likely the other person to see items move or have activity around her.
Yeah, a lot of times it's someone going through puberty that has all this subconscious, but you know, just wanted to throw that out there.
It is.
I did learn that from your education site. Thank you, Philip. It's great, by the way.
But look into poltergeist activity, because you're describing a lot of what that is, which is not spirit.
That's right. And just be very mindful of that, guys, because the spirit world don't do things like that. That is definitely not the spirit world. I'll tell you right now, as I'm talking to you, Anne, it's definitely connected with your children.
Yep.
But it's nothing
which was why I asked the question to go, then I know there's something else. So how do I know
emotional energy, darling?
Not something else. Yeah.
It's emotional energy, darling. That's all it is. Pent up, built up emotional energy. And it can be due with emotions, high ranges of different anxieties. I gather there may have been anxiety around one of your children recently, over the past year or so, or something could be creating anxiety. The very fact that your son describes it as a terror dream creates anxiety automatically within the mind. So the very fact he's giving it that is already feeding energy, and that automatically is letting me know there's a reoccurrence of brain play here. So it's nothing to be worried about. If you have to use the psychological aspect of the house clearing or bringing uplifting things, tell them and showing positive things and saying positive things to just make the children's mind feel at balance, then you do what you need to. But it's like, you know, there's no such thing as a haunting like that. That is definitely energetic. Yes, if any of you are healers, I have several of my students in my universal groups who are very sick with COVID and have very sick people in ICU, particularly in the States. So whenever you're sitting for a healing moment or you have healing books, could you please just put in an extra thought to those who are suffering and those in ICU places around the world, and particularly in the States, because we have some really, really critical that probably won't last, and it's quite scary for them. And of course, when you're doing your healing books, if you sit for healing or you're having your healing moments or you're just sending out a lovely thought of intention, it's a wonderful vibration if you can send out that thought globally for everybody, which we all should be doing anyway. Globally, to send out that healing thought for everybody, because that mass thought production creates a wonderful, stronger vibration universally and around the world. And I will just say, if you have a topic you want me to talk about, you know, regarding to any aspect of mediumship, I'm quite open to talking about different topics relating to mediumship and healing.
Lovely. All right. Thank you, Christine. And
Okay.
we'll look forward to seeing you next time.